goes from the inside out. But anyways, oh, okay. The professor's on the line. Just stop me in the middle of this joke, and I'll stop talking about the Ass Master. Hopefully, he's Professor.
Yes. Hello, Princeton. Hello.
Okay, we can hear you fine.
Much better.
Can you
Much
hear us?
better.
I can hear you back on video, but I would prefer it. But it's okay. There's no problem.
Okay. Serenity now.
Anyway.
Okay. So, anyways, how long have you been a professor at Santa Barbara City College?
23 years.
23 years. And what do you teach there at the college?
I have taught Introduction to Philosophy, Ethics, and Critical Thinking and Writing.
Wow, sounds like you're way overqualified to be talking to me, but we're going to proceed anyways.
Oh, no.
That's a pretty big pedigree there.
My department chairman said, I don't understand anything about philosophy.
Okay, all right, okay, but the interesting story that's going on with you right now is recently you had some turmoil in your job, and now you teach political science. Have you taught anything different in the last year than you've done in the 22 years previous to that?
No, I don't teach political science.
Okay.
Because political science is an oxymoron, okay? It doesn't make any sense. If it's political, it's not science. If it's science, it's not political. So I don't teach political science.
Okay.
That's good. I teach philosophy, critical thinking, and writing.
Philosophy, critical thinking, and writing. And for some reason, the school board or the people that are in charge started to have a problem. After you've been there for 23 years, they started to have a problem with something that you were teaching. What was the problem that the school board had?
It wasn't the school board. It was a combination of, I was ambushed by a triangular attack to get rid of me because I was the only conservative spokesperson on the faculty, actually on the entire campus, for conservative, libertarian, Trump supporters, homeschoolers, and individuals who really had a different point of view than the liberal, progressive, social justice warrior, feminist mafia that was on the campus. So I was triangulated by the administration, by my department chair, and by 4 feminists who actually filed Title IX accusations against me. Yes, indeed.
What is Title
IX? Yeah, what is a Title IX accusation?
Title IX is a Department of Education series of regulations. Don't libertarians just love that word, regulation?
No, we don't.
Those are regulations that prohibit sexual harassment and bullying of any kind. Now, the accusations that were leveled against me had nothing to do with anything physical. I wasn't groping people. I wasn't touching them or, God forbid, doing anything more than that. No, I had used words that triggered the feminist Nazis and mafia into filing Title IX.
Well, what were some of those words that were so offensive? I mean, did you speak out about feminine people with unshaven armpits? I mean, what really got the feminists up in arms?
No, good question. Brandon, okay, here are some of the words. Are you ready?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, we're ready.
Some of the words, wait for it, my dear.
My dear is offensive now, Tom?
Apparently.
Oh, yes, you can't presume somebody's gender because there are 7 billion people on the planet and there are as many genders as there are people on the planet. So why would you call somebody my dear? That's offensive.
I thought dear was gender fluid. Can't that be male and female?
I thought so.
I mean, you could say that to a woman could say that to a man just as much as a man could say that to a woman, right?
Yes, dear.
Yeah, I got another one for you.
Okay.
Morning after regret email.
Morning after regret. Well, that kind of goes both ways. I mean, that's something very common in society with a little morning after regret.
I got a better one for you. Fingering herself.
Okay.
Now that one is a little.
Now, Professor, I need to know the context of you putting fingering herself in the email. Now, who was this email sent to?
Brandon, let me explain the context. Renee Napoleon had issued a diatribe against Michael Shermer, who I invited to the campus, to do a faculty colloquium of which I was the coordinator.
Okay, hold on. Let's slow this down a second because Michael Shermer was somebody that you brought in to do a speech at the college, and he was a conservative.
No, Michael's not a conservative. He's an atheist skeptic.
He's an atheist skeptic, which I thought would be. Yep. I thought that would fall in line well with the liberal point of view. I didn't know that they would be offended by that.
That's what I thought too.
Okay, so basically, you brought in this Michael Shermer, and you had this basically opposing professor at the school that sent out this mass email that went through Michael Shermer's history and explained that he had been in trouble before for apparently groping a female at some speech or something like that.
Wait. The Ray Napoleon's email was nothing of what you've described. She warned people that not to go to the lecture, not to go to the colloquium, because there were accusations against Michael Shermer for having sexually assaulted and raped a female. Mere accusations. So Dr. Napoleon, I say doctor, she doesn't even know what the PH stands for in her PhD degree. She warned people, don't be alone with Dr. Shermer. You know, especially after dark. She based this on a, wait for it, BuzzFeed posting that Michael Shermer had sexually assaulted an individual.
Okay, but that's not what you. So this opposing professor, that's kind of your nemesis, sends out this email and says, "Hey, this person that Professor Mcintire is bringing in is there's accusations about him, doing whatever, but somehow you responded to that, and your original comment was that you got in trouble for including in the email fingering herself. So apparently, when the other professor went on this attack against you, you responded through an email, and in what context did you use the phrase fingering herself?
I don't know that there's
because by using the now Brett Kavanaugh jurisprudence, she fingered herself as a social justice warrior who only used accusations without evidence and without proof. She fingered herself as a social justice warrior of the most worst stamp. That's the full context of the email.
Okay, now, Tom, when you hear fingered herself as a social warrior, social justice warrior? Does that have any sexual connotation to you, or what?
I get it. I mean, when you think about it, it makes sense. But in today's
when we say fingered herself, are we talking about her pointing to herself?
Yeah.
Or
no. You're too young to understand this. Okay?
Was there a comma in there?
Well, let me give you some education on this, Brendan. Okay, in the 1940s, 50s,
apparently
60s,
you're the host now.
The word fingering yourself meant to identify yourself or reveal yourself as a culprit. Okay, that's what it meant.
So like you're pointing your finger at you. You're pointing your finger at yourself.
You finger yourself as a malcontent and a culprit. That was the context in which I used the expression. But oh no, everything now has sexual connotations. Everything now has sexual meanings, especially if you're looking for a sexual meaning.
Well, if there was a comma behind fingering herself, I could see how there might be a little confusion there.
Well, I mean, that's not a term that's, I mean, when I usually hear the term fingering herself, I'm usually thinking about, Tom, how do I word this? Because I'm on the phone with an esteemed professor. Flicking the bean, flabbing the roast beef sandwich, that kind of stuff. That's the words that pop into my mind.
Beef sandwich?
Yeah. Hey, some people need to see Dr. Sam. I can't help everybody. Anyways,
I know.
Okay. So you send out this email, and so what? So I get it. It seems simple enough to me. You explain yourself in the context of what you said, fingering herself, and you just meant that she was labeling herself, labiaing.
Be careful.
Labeling herself as a social justice warrior, but that should be the end of the story. You just explain yourself. You explain what you meant. So how did that end up costing you your job?
Four females, four of them, four mad, crazy social justice feminist mafia agents piled on me and filed Title IX accusations that I was harassing them and bullying them.
These days, we call them lesbians now.
Yeah.
So, there's a new name now. We just call them lesbians, so it usually fits.
That's Steph that's saying that, not me.
Thank you, Stephen.
I never went that far.
Okay, so all these
Just
females
kidding,
join
just
against
kidding.
you, and then basically let's break it down for what it is. They don't like you because you have libertarian political point of views. You're in Santa Barbara. For the most part, probably all the other professors there are more liberal, very liberal, and they just didn't like you because of your political affiliation. So they gang up on you, and they fingered you. They ganged on you and fingered you.
I fingered, yes.
Yes, they fingered him.
He was gang fingered.
He was gang fingered.
Finger game.
He was finger ganged, yes.
Now, I'll tell you what, Professor, the sexual harassment and the harassment seems like it was coming from those militant social justice warriors.
A lot of fingering going on, though.
You know, the college actually hired an outside feminist judge, a retired judge, a very intelligent woman by the name of...
I mean, how feminist are we talking? I mean, I think, Professor, I think you and I both know that we can measure the level of a feminist by their armpit hair. Are we talking about this judge just having like a little bit of stubble because she hadn't shaved in a couple days? Are we talking about mongoloid, looks like she got Bigfoot in a headlock kind of armpit hair? Is that the kind of feminist she was?
And they always look like they're going camping. I understand that.
Yes.
Shit.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
I got that. But then anyway, they hired this judge. The funniest part. They hired this judge. So afraid were they that they were going to screw up the investigation of the charges against me by these four crazy females that they hired an outside feminist judge to adjudicate and investigate. And so the judge, her name is Eleanor Renier, she's a retired judge, and so she investigated for a whole week. She interviewed me, she interviewed Michael Shermer, she interviewed Alex Madagian, she interviewed everybody that you can imagine. And you know what the conclusion she came to? She came to the conclusion, as in the words of the Independent, the Santa Bumpkin Independent, you like that, right?
Yes.
She says, Mcintire used offensive and anti-feminist language, but it's totally legal. End of case. I was exonerated.
You were exonerated, but they still made a deal with you, and they scrubbed your record, and they basically labeled it as the fact that you retired. Is that what I got from the story that I read?
No, they paid me to go away. They gave me $20,000 to go away.
To go away. Have you ever thought about infiltrating back by growing out your armpit hair, wearing Birkenstocks, and wearing no makeup and a wig, and then infiltrating back into the system as a liberal female? Has that ever occurred to you to like infiltrate back in?
You mean and dress like I'm going camping?
Yes. With those little rubber shoes that have, like the little toe shoes, whatever those are called.
Yeah, they're called Crocs. Okay. All right.
That works.
Okay. We got that. Okay, we got all that stuff. No, I think I'm going to run for your position on the trustees after you get elected.
That would be an interesting opportunity to debate philosophy.
By the way, I want to endorse your candidacy. I mean, let's talk about what's really going on at the college, okay? I'm out of there. A great has been lifted from my shoulders. I no longer have to go back to that insane asylum that's run by lunatics, okay? I don't have to go back there anymore. I am free. By the way, I did not have to sign a confidentiality agreement, nor I did not have to sign a non-disparagement agreement. That's why I'm on your show, Brandon.
Yeah, well, and so Professor Mcintire, would you say that you are fingering Brandon as the potential endorsement that you would finger to be the on the trustee board?
No. Brandon has fingered himself.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
think-
your kind words.
Brandon might be getting gang fingered by the end of the night.
Isn't fingering yourself isn't that the epitome of feminine liberalism? I mean,
I thought it was because there's no
yourself?
men there's no men needed to finger yourself.
no.
I thought that would not be offensive at all to a feminist.
Well, what's happening on campus, as you probably know, because you're running for the Board of Trustees, the election, the liberal, progressive, social justice, feminist mafia has made a move on both the Santa Barbara City College trustees, and they've made a move on the middle school. You may have noticed that the Just Communities, which is a Marxist, socialist, communist group, they have now got another contract to spread their filth and their Marxist nonsense into the middle schools to make our kids social justice warriors. Now they're making a move on the Board of Trustees of Santa Barbara City College. And you know why? Because they want to get rid of the, wait for it, they want to get rid of the JFK and Bill Clinton liberal Democrats that overthrew and threw out Lori Gaskin as the president of Santa Bumpkin Silly College.
Well, let's talk about this, Professor Mcintire. So basically, now you are retired, and do you plan on working anymore in the future? Or are you just going to relax and take it easy?
I'm doing a new radio and TV show called Freedom Matters with Mark Mcintire. So I'm dedicating all of my energies now defending the Bill of Rights after what I've gone through. I beat their ass and I won, okay? And I did it with a lawyer. I went through the court system. There is a way to beat these bastards, and that is to get a lawyer and sue their ass.
Well, my hope is that as a member of the board that I would be able to change these policies and be able to prevent this stuff from happening in the first place. You're absolutely correct that your political beliefs should have never been a part of your evaluation, in my perspective.
Never.
And I have a question for you. I think that it's ironic that the
don't you think?
Exactly. That the Democrat establishment chose a white male to be the appointed incumbent when they could have chosen anybody else. What's your thought about that?
Well, we have evolved into a society where anything with a penis is a threat. Okay? It's a threat to society. It's a threat to Western civilization. It's a threat to the Enlightenment. It's a threat to the academic climate. It's just a threat, especially to women. Anything with the penis. We have now arrived, thanks to the Kavanaugh jurisprudence shift, we have now arrived at the point, thanks to the feminists, Nazis, that if you immediately accuse somebody of a sexual harassment, then they must be guilty. Period.
Oh, no. Yeah. And that's going around a lot. We just had a bunch of guys in here last week on the show, and they represented a bunch of we had two people that represented some of the 500 groups that were recently removed from Facebook on October 11th that represented independent media. And and Facebook just willy-nilly deleted all their accounts. And we're talking about pages that had millions of followers, but because Facebook or the government or whoever didn't believe with their political views, they eliminated these people from the from Facebook. So do you feel that there's an attack, especially on conservatives, especially conservatives with flamboyant cartoon voices like yourself and others? Do you feel that there's a definite attack on the conservative voice right now?
We are at the beginning of a cultural civil war that I have been predicting for the last 20 years. I'm on record. And the cultural civil war is predicated along the lines of exactly what you have just said. There are individuals that are in control of our educational system from K through 12, through middle school, through now the higher education systems, at least in public education. And what they want to do is they want to fulfill Barack Obama's promise. I will change, he said, American culture and life forever. And they're doing that. They're actually doing that. They have indoctrinated and hired indoctrinators to spread their social justice warrior feminist mafia ideology. And they're doing it en masse.
Yeah,
And if you get elected to the board, when you get elected to the board, this is the biggest problem you are going to face. Do you realize they're trying to get rid of the Kennedy liberals? The Kennedy
Brandon,
liberals
did you realize
are the
that?
Board of Trustees.
I had this conversation with him.
The Kennedy liberals are on the board right now that will be your colleagues. I'm talking about Peter Haslam. I'm talking about Marsha Croninger. These are Democrat liberal Kennedy liberals, okay? They're not good enough for the loony left.
The loony
feminist,
left.
Not social justice war. They're not good enough. They want to destroy male privilege, especially white male Christian homeschool libertarian privilege.
Okay,
you are the enemy. You are the enemy of these people.
All right, Professor. Well, we have there's one person on our panel. It's Tom, and he's kind of the more liberal host on the show. And he does have a question for you. And Tom, go ahead. Janice, how are you? Sorry about that.
Hi, Tom.
Tom, go ahead with your question.
We're having some mic difficulty.
Oh, you have a mic difficulty. Is it on my end?
I
or
think
your end?
Tom's mic's not
No,
working.
it's on our end. Hold on 1 second, please.
No, go ahead. Say
No.
something. I can't get it to work.
Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties.
Are you really?
Yeah, okay. Well, anyways, Professor, thank you very much for coming on the show. It was very exciting and very enlightening and very animated. And but no. But honestly, when the brass tacks here hits the road, I do believe that them getting rid of you or forcing you out of the system just because there's a bunch of other liberal, long-haired, croc-wearing feminist females that pushed you out the door. I think that is utter and complete bullshit, and that's something that I don't think should be happening in our school system. Tom, do you believe?
I would agree with that.
Do you have any suggestions for me whenever I win the election and end on the board?
Are you talking to me, Tom?
No, that was Brandon. That was Brandon
that
that came
time.
back in. We got a lot of people here, so there's a lot of voices. But Brandon, just ask you, Brandon, what was your question again?
I was just curious if you had any advice or words of wisdom for whenever I win the election.
Plan on fingering.
Don't finger anybody,
Don't
Brandon.
finger anybody.
Yeah, fire everybody at the college, and then have a committee who are experts in the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights. Interview them and see if they can answer 20 questions about actually what the Constitution and the Bill of Rights says. And if they can pass that test, then they can be rehired. Otherwise, they're fired.
That sounds like
Fair enough.
I'm fired for sure. I couldn't tell you.
Anyway,
I'm fired.
I hope you win your election, Brandon. You'd be a great addition to the Board of Trustees, a new face, a new voice, and you speak to a whole group of people that have not had their voice represented. So I wish you the very best of luck. If I were in your district, I would vote for you. Unfortunately, I'm not in your district.
Well, I appreciate your kind words.
Okay, I think one more closing question that we have from Tom here. And Tom, what is your question?
There are other animals, like do you have sex with other animals, or is it just dogs? There are other animals, like...
Well, Tom, that was a little inappropriate. I told you, Tom is our liberal voice, and he really... Tom, are you really pissed off with his views that you're going to ask him outrageous questions like that?
Is there a tender for dogs? Is there a tender for dog?
Tom, leave the professor alone.
I think you are the first person I've ever talked to in my life that openly admitted to fucking an animal. I think you are the first person I've ever talked to.
Okay. Professor, I'm sorry about our liberal. I'm going to mute his mic because I don't think that is appropriate at all. And I don't want to get sued because he's out there fingering you as in all kinds of weird stuff. But you know, for real, Professor, thanks for coming on the show. You were a blast. And maybe we can meet in person sometime and go finger some bitches, you know, just like the old emails. Okay. No, I'm kidding, Professor. You have a good one, and I wish you the best. I wish that everything works out appropriately for yourself. Okay, Jack.
Thank you for sharing your article.
All right. Thank you, Professor.
Can I just point out that we just interviewed...
Brandon just lost his shit right now. Did you see him? He disappeared.
Can I just point out that we just interviewed the real-life Gargamel?
You guys are killing me.
He even looks like Gargamel.
I have a
Can
lot
we
of
do a
respect
side
for
by
Professor
side?
McIntyre.
Do a side, but no, he was a great guy, man.
No, he was funny.
He's a character for
I have
sure.
no idea what happened there, but I just know that we started doing an interview and I started hearing these voices and all this stuff and him ripping on feminists, and I thought, okay, let's roll.